This is Mrs. Fraser, and we're going to go through your test 3 through review for linear relationships. So reviewing slope, M, y-intercept, which is your B, y equals mx plus b, and as well as your systems of equations, so systems. So the table below represents points on a line. Find the slope and y-intercept of this line when writing an equation to represent the line. So to find our slope, we find our change in y to change in x. Remember, we can use any 2 points. So the easier the points, the better. So here I can see my change in my y is increasing by 4, and the change in my x is increasing by 2. So my slope can be written as 4 over 2, which equals 2. My y-intercept can't be found on the line, but if my slope is 2, I could work backwards to find when x would be 0. So I know this so far when x is 1, y is -6. So to find 0, the slope is 2 over 1. I would need to add 2 from this value to get to -6. So to add 2, I would have to start with -8. So my y-intercept is -8. I can also use my slope to find that value. So I can use my y equals mx plus b. I can plug in my m value, which is 2. So y equals 2. I can plug in an x value, like 1. And I'm looking for my y value of -6. So y equals 2 times 1, which is 2. And I need to get to -6. So I need to take away 8 to get to -6. So my y-intercept is -8. This also helps me find my equation. So y equals 2x minus 8. Number 2, write an equation in slope-intercept form for each graph. Okay, so looking at the first graph, I can see my y-intercept. Let me switch colors. My y-intercept, my b value, is 3. And I can find any other point on my graph. So I could just find right here and then find my change in y to change in x. So my rise is 1 and my run is also 1. So slope is 1 over 1, which would just be 1. So writing this in y equals mx plus b form, whoops, y equals 1x plus 3. That 1 times x would just end up being whatever that x value is. So I'm not going to actually write that 1. So really your final answer is going to look like y equals x plus 3. And looking at my next graph, I can see my y-intercept is located here at -3. So b equals -3. Finding a second point on my graph, I will find my rise and my run. So my rise is 2 and my run is 2, which simplifies to 1. So again, I have another slope of 1. And my equation would be y equals x minus 3. Going to our next one, we can see my y-intercept is 3. My slope, rise over run, is going down 2 and over 2. So my slope is -2 over 2. And of course, I can always just look at my line and see if I run my pencil from left to right, that my line or my pencil would be falling or I would have to drag my pencil down. So that makes my slope negative. So my slope is -1. So to write this as an equation, I have y equals, I won't write -1x, I'll just write -x plus 3. And the last graph, we can see that the y-intercept is at -2. Finding a second point on my graph, you can see it's going down 2 and over 2. So again, we have another slope of -1, because -2 over 2 would be -1. So my equation is y equals -x minus 2. Frankie bought a new computer. He made an initial payment of $50 to the store, and he will pay $30 each month until the computer is paid off. Write an equation that could be used to determine how much money Frankie has paid to the store. Okay, so an initial payment, I'm thinking about creating myself a table here. Before any months have passed, he's actually paid $50 for that computer. And after 1 month, he's going to pay $30 more. So that means he would have paid $80. And I can continue that after 2 months. So 1 more month, he's going to pay another $30. So 110. So I can see my rate of change or my slope is 30. And my y-intercept or my initial value is 50. So as an equation, I have y equals 30x plus 50. Number 4, the graph below shows the cost of renting a bicycle at a recreation center. Identify the slope and interpret its meaning. Okay, so finding our slope, I'm going to find 2 points on my line. Here's a point, and I could choose this point at 1, or I could choose this point at 2. It doesn't really matter. So I'm going to choose the one at 2 so we can see a little better. I'm going to find my rise and my run. I'm going to make sure I pay attention to my units. So it's going from 5 to 10, so it's increasing by 5. And my run is going from 0 to 2. So my slope is 5 over 2. But we want to interpret that meaning. I can also write this, since it's a real world situation, as 2.5, which is actually what makes more sense for this situation. Since it's money, I really should write it as 2.50. So for this situation, it's cost per hour, right? So my 5, we could actually rewrite this. My rise is, it's increasing by $5 every 2 hours. So $5 every 2 hours. So if it's $5 for every 2 hours, it's actually $2.50 for 1 hour. So it's $2.50 per hour. Okay, my y-intercept is 5, and without really knowing the situation entirely, we're renting a bicycle at a recreation center. We kind of have to estimate, but at 0 hours or the initial cost is $5 to rent the bike. So we pay $5 and then we pay $2.50 per hour. So to write this as an equation, knowing that my M is $2.50 and my B is $5, I'll have Y equals 250 X plus 5. Number 5, Mr. Leonard is renting a car for 1 day. The table below shows the total amount he will be charged for the car based on the number of miles he drives. Write an equation that represents the situation. Okay, so to write my equation, y equals mx plus b. So I need my slope or rate of change, and I need my y-intercept. So let's start with our slope. Okay, so the change in my y value. And notice this time they're actually using C for y, which is fine, is 50 cents, so 0.5 or 0.50 in this case. And then the number of miles increase, or the change in my x, which is m in this case, is 5. Okay, so it's 50 cents for every 5 miles. I can simplify this to 10 cents per mile, or just 10 cents. Okay, so my m value is 10 cents. Okay, so it's 10 cents per mile. So let's go ahead and start my equation. Y equals 0.10 x. So let's choose an x value to plug in to solve for what I need. So let's plug in 5. Get my eraser here. So I'm going to plug in 5 miles. So 10 cents times 5 would be 50 cents. But I want $30.50. So what is this additional charge or my initial amount? I need to add $30 on. So my y-intercept, or my b value, is $30. I also could use the pattern of my table and back it up. So looking at my pattern, if it's increasing by 50 cents for each, for every 5, if I back up 5 more, this would be at 30. Okay, so let's write our equation. So if b equals 30 and m equals 10, we're going to write it as y equals 10x, or 0.10x plus 30. Now, with this situation, you might also see it as C equals my cost equals 10 cents per mile plus 30. So either of these are acceptable. Number 6, find the slope and y-intercept and write an equation for the line that passes through the points. Okay, so I'm going to write my points in a table version, even though I could go ahead and use my slope formula. So I could use, sorry, I could use m equals y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. But I like to put mine in a table. So I'm going to have -3, -5, and 0 and 3. And now I can find my change in y, increasing by 8, and my change in x, which is increasing by 3. So my slope is 8 over 3. And my y-intercept is already given to me when x is 0. So 0, 3, so my y-intercept is 3. So my equation is y equals 8/3 x plus 3. Number 7, the following graph represents the distance of two contestants traveled over a period of time. Use the graph to answer the following questions. Which point simultaneously satisfies the two linear equations? Okay, so for it to simultaneously satisfy, meaning that each point is on both graphs. Okay, so I'm looking for the point that is on both graphs. So I'm going to look where they cross. So I'm looking for my intersection. So this intersection is at 6 seconds and 15 feet. So at 6 seconds, both racers are at 15 feet. So I'm just going to write this as 6 and 15. So what does it represent for this situation? Well, I'm going to look again. What does 6 represent? Well, at 6 seconds. And what does 15 represent? My y value. We do have racers, both A and B are at a distance of 15 feet. Who is traveling at a faster rate during the race? Contestant A or B? Okay, so who is traveling faster? Well, let's just kind of look at our lines a little bit. Well, it looks like that A here, they're starting a little bit ahead of the line. At B, we can't really even see where they're starting. They're starting back here somewhere. But B is clearly starting behind A, and B is passing up A. They're going further than A. So that's one thing to look at. So if B is passing A, B is traveling faster than A. But I also know that I can look, if I'm finding my rate, I can see who has the greater rate of change or who has the greater slope. Which line is steeper, A or B? So the mistake sometimes is to see, it seems like that A, since the line is above the red line, that it is going faster, but right here is a good point to look at. Right here, now my red line is above the blue line, and you can see that B is actually going faster than A. So our slopes can also help us see this. So A is traveling at 5 feet in 3 seconds. So A, the slope is 5 over 3. And B, find 2 points for B, is traveling, let's see, 15 feet in 6 seconds. Simplify that. So they're actually traveling 5 feet in 2 seconds, where A is traveling 5 feet in 3 seconds. So who's traveling faster? The person who goes 5 feet in 3 seconds or the person that goes 5 feet in 2 seconds? I hope you say the person who's going 5 feet in 2 seconds. So B is traveling faster. because the line is steeper. Or the slope is greater. Or you could say the rate of change is greater. Number 8, Roberto earns $70 an hour working at a grocery store. If he works 20 hours each week, which of these graphs best represents Roberto's earnings? Okay, so we're looking for a graph where he works 20 hours each week, and he's also earning $7 per hour. So thinking about how much he would earn for 20 hours of work. Well, for 0 hours of work, he's going to earn $0. So immediately I'm going to get rid of H because he's not going to earn anything for 0 hours of work. This one doesn't make sense really either because it doesn't continue on and he's not going to earn a negative amount. So if I looked and saw it continue, it would actually go down and he's not going to earn a negative amount. So 7 hours, he's earning, let's see, 20 hours times $7 would give me $140. So I'm going to look for 20 hours and where he's earning $140. So here at 20 hours, he's earning $280. That seems like a little much. We already got rid of H. And here he's working 20 hours and making $140. So G would be my answer. Number 9, which is the graph of the equation y equals negative 2x plus 2? Okay, so let's start with what we know. First, we know that y-intercept is 2. Okay, so here has a y-intercept of 2, but H doesn't. H has a y-intercept of 0. G has a y-intercept of negative 2, so you don't want G. And J has a y-intercept of 2. Okay, so we're down to 2 possible equations. But then I also know that the slope is negative 2. So it's a negative slope. So if I look at my line and I drag my pencil from left to right, my line should be falling. So if I look at F, my line is falling. But if I look at J, my line is rising. So J can't be my answer. So my answer would be F. Number 10, Maria opens a savings account and puts $50 in the bank. Each month, she will put $20 in the account. Write an equation to represent the situation. Okay, so Maria opens a savings account. So at 0 months, she has $50 in her savings account. And at 1 month, now she has $20. So she's increasing by $20 each month. And at 2 months, oh, I'm sorry. She doesn't have 20, she has 70. But she increased by 20. And at 2 months, now she increases another 20. And she has $90. And we can continue this. But we can see that my slope is 20. And we can also see at 0, she has $50 in the bank. So B is 50. So my equation is y equals 20x plus 50. Write the equation of the line that passes through the points 2, 5, negative 4, and negative 7. So I'm going to make another table, 2, 5, negative 4, negative 7. I'm going to find my slope. So I can see my change in y is negative 12. And my change in x is negative 6. So negative 12 over negative 6 actually gives me positive 2. Okay, so I'm going to start my equation, y equals mx plus b. So y equals 2 times x. So I'm going to choose the x of 2. 2 times 2. And I need to get to 5, my output. So what would I need to add? 2 times 2 is 4. So I would need to add 1 to get to 5. So my y-intercept is 1. B equals 1. So my equation is y equals 2x plus 1. Number 12, the graph shows the amount Morgan charges for babysitting, which equation represents the amount she charges. Well, first, just for showing up, it looks like that Morgan charges $10. So my y-intercept is 10. And I'm going to find another good point on the graph. I'm not really sure if at 1 she's increased by 5 or not. I can't really tell. That's not really a clear one to me. So I'm going to skip all the way to this 5 hours. And now she's made 20, or she's now at $30. So she's increased from 10 to 30, which is a rise of 20. And the run is 5. So she's earned an additional $20 in 5 hours. So M is 20 over 5, which equals 4. So putting this together, y equals mx plus b, y equals 4x plus 10.